So it's the degree of health. But when you actually think about that same concept, how two people can look at the exact same thing and have a different assessment as to the health of that organism,
Hmm.
think about your marriage, think about your relationship, right? Think about how the health of your relationship can be perceived.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Whether you've been married 1 or 20 plus years, at some point, you realized you were married into crazy.
And that's what our podcast is all about. We offer love, laughter, and a dose of reality as we unpack this crazy thing called marriage.
So sit back, relax, and get your ear hustle on. It's time to start the conversation.
All right, let's go.
Yo, what's up? It's your boy ET. Look, if you're looking to or you got to raise the bar on your marriage, you gotta click the link and get into Married into Crazy, y'all. I'm telling you, this coaching is gonna take your relationship to another level. Now look, you already know you need to raise the bar. You know that already. So stop thinking or overthinking. Click that link, and Marriage into Crazy is gonna take you and your spouse to marital bliss. Now you know. Click the button. Let's go.
Welcome to another episode of the Married into Crazy podcast with Snooks and Lovey. I'm Lovey.
I'm Snooks.
And let's see how far we can get into the podcast before Snooks has a coughing fit.
Whatever.
Hey, we want to thank everybody for coming back and ask for your forgiveness. Last week,
We were sick, y'all.
we were sick. The whole house was sick.
It was very bad.
We did not plan for it. We didn't have any podcast in the hopper. And that was the very first time since 2018 that we have not posted a podcast.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think we had initially said we're going to try to do a small one, a short one, I should say. And then Larry's like, no, let's just, get something out of the archive and we'll repost it. But we were so that our minds were saying, yeah, you could do it. But our body's like, I'd like to see you get up and go to the office and do that. I mean, it was horrible. It was so horrible. But yeah, we're back now. I feel like we're at 100%, but of course I still may sound a little nasally and I still have this cough. So
well, it's not just about being 100%. It's you feel better and probably more like 85%.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
But we thought it would be important to get back on, even for a short podcast this evening. And for those of you that this is your first time, you just discovered Married into Crazy podcast, know that we are a couple that have been together for 26 plus years, married 26.
We've been together for 27 years.
26 plus, that's the same thing.
Seriously, just say 27 years.
Been married together 27 years, married 26. We've got 3 adult children and 3 grandchildren, one of which actually lives with us. And so we have a lot of experience in a variety of different areas when it comes to this marriage journey, right, to the covenant. We almost got divorced, battled our way through that.
Yeah, that was in year 4.
So that was early in our relationship, and we had to build on top of that. And then during that process, we learned a lot, met a lot of individuals. And because of that, we've been coaching and counseling couples for over 20 years. It's at first very informally, and then it became a formal thing with our coaching platform, Married into Crazy, which you can find over at maritalintocrazy.com. And the reason why I say all that is just so that way you're just not thinking, oh, it's just another couple out there pontificating and saying what they believe. It's not just what we believe, it's what we've experienced, but not just us. There's couples that we bring on to the podcast so they can talk about their experiences, how they've, overcome certain challenges, and they celebrate their triumphs, and they give their different perspectives. Mm-hmm. There's experts that we bring on with different subject matter as it relates to relationships. And so we bring them on. And so there's a variety of different things that we pull from on top of the certifications that we received. We're both extreme execution coaches, meaning that we've both been trained specifically by either Dr. Eric Thomas. I had an opportunity to train directly with ET. And then there's my wife, who actually trained with his right-hand man. Mustafa Ghonim. And it's one of those things where we take that along with our DISC training, and it's certified when it comes to administering and facilitating DISC training. And then Snooks and I are both level 1, level 2 certified when it comes to the Gottman couples. I always mess it up. The Gottman couples therapy method.
Yeah.
Right. So we always, it's a mouthful, y'all. So we have these different things. You know, there's some clinical training that we've been able to combine with some of our experiential training. So that's what we share, and that's what we draw upon when it comes to our podcast, as well as our coaching, when we're, you know, working with the couples and the individuals that we coach on an ongoing basis. And it's been like that for the last several years. And so we offer the podcast as, you know, a freebie, something that we love to do. This came first. You know, actually, we were coaching couples first, informally, and then we started the podcast. And now and then from the podcast, people were like, you know, you guys just need to go ahead and take it to the next level, which we have. And it's been beautiful. We've coached internationally. We've had clients over in Europe, the upper part of North America and Canada, and of course, across the United States. We thoroughly enjoy what we do because we believe in the covenant of marriage. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's funny. So we wanted to get on this evening and briefly talk about how you heard earlier how we said we were, you know, she said we're 100%. And I was like, nah, 85. And she's like, it's probably more like that. You know, and we got to talk about our marriages. You know, are our marriages at 100%? Is it operating at 85%? And what do we do in those situations to ensure that we are operating at an optimum level, whatever that may be? Rarely are we 100% at health. Would you agree?
Wait,
100% at health, 100% rarely.
I don't know. I mean, because what do you mean by that? 100%? Because I can say, yeah, I think, you know, I don't think it's rare that we're at 100%.
So let me challenge you.
I'm saying it's all in the perspective of what your 100% equates to.
Okay. So, for instance, if you're feeling great, right? You don't feel like you have the flu or severe cold, and no sinus issues, no asthma's kicking up, but then your knee hurts. Is that 100%? You got this knee ache for a while. Is that 100% health?
Is it an ache, or is
pain? It's a pain. It hurts when you walk up and down the stairs. You think, I need to go see the doctor to have my knee looked at.
Okay, so I mean, I'm trying to assess the degree of pain that we're talking about. Then no, that would not be.
So that's not 100%.
Not if I need to go to the doctor.
Well, what if you don't? What if you got this pain and it's just ongoing? And in those moments, I'm just talking about in that moment while your knee is bothering you, are you at 100% health?
I guess not.
Okay. And then what about those times where your knee's not hurting? Everything else is, you know, working great, but you know, your skin is, you know,
ashy.
Ashy. Not ashy, but itchy, like dry, scaly.
Put some lotion on, get some shea butter.
Not just, I'm saying, not drinking enough water, like you're flaking or whatever. Dehydrated or whatever. So your skin's like just not quite where it is. Or your nails become a little bit brittle. You know, these are the little things, right? But are you at 100% health?
It depends on if you look at being, I don't want to say ashy, but if you're looking at brittle nails, if you're assessing like, oh, why is that, or why, you know, then you would determine that, well, there's probably something wrong. But if you're just like, oh, dang, girl, I need to put some lotion on, I need some hand cream, and you keep it moving, you know.
What about constipation? If you're constipated and everything else is fine, but you know, I'm constipated, I haven't been in the bathroom in 7 days.
If that's a always kind of thing, you probably just think, I've always just been like that.
And that's
not everybody uses the bathroom.
Well, everybody does use the bathroom.
I mean,
what goes in must come out.
Not everybody uses the bathroom every day.
Everyone's not regular.
Okay, same thing. They're not using the bathroom.
And so here's the thing: there's a doctor for that. Gastroenterologist, you know, deal with that from some type of bowel
doctor. But yeah, gastro.
Yeah, the gastroenterologist deals with that type of stuff.
But again, it depends on how you assess what's healthy, what's not healthy.
True. And see, and therein lies the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
To one individual, you're like, oh, it's not that big a deal. But the way I look at it from a holistic standpoint, I'm thinking, you know what? You probably aren't the healthiest because whatever it is, your bowels aren't working properly.
Mm-hmm.
Your skin isn't working properly, which skin happens to be the largest organ in your entire body. Then, your nails, the formation, you're maybe vitamin deficient, whatever. So for one person might think, oh, there's nothing wrong with that. Somebody like myself, I'm like, yeah, there is actually. So it's the degree of health. But when you actually think about that same concept, how two people can look at the exact same thing and have a different assessment as to the health of that organism,
Mm-hmm.
you think about your marriage, think about your relationship, right? Think about how the health of your relationship can be perceived just as, is the word disparately, or how differently it can actually be viewed. Because I can feel like we're not communicating well, and you could be like, "No, everything's fine. That's just the way it is. That's the way my parents were. That's the way we were. That's the way." So the health of the relationship might be perceived completely different as well.
Well, yeah. I mean, everything that we do, um, I feel like, well, I won't say I feel like it. I know it is. Everything that we do is based on some experience that we had in our history, growing up or
Right.
whatever. Whether it's something that we saw, good or bad, we either mimic it or we're like, I ain't gonna do that. I'm not gonna be that way. And if you don't, I feel like if you don't make changes, then maybe you're okay with the way things went down. Or that's probably not a fair thing to say either.
I think it's familiar. I don't know if you're okay with it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's probably not. That's why I'm saying that's probably not fair either. Because, like you said, you could be familiar, or maybe you don't like it, but you don't realize how to change it, or how to be different, or how to move differently.
I don't know that you don't know. I think a lot of times maybe it comes down to just, again, it's familiar, therefore it doesn't scare me. Because
Or you don't know.
or you don't know, there's ignorance, and that's not a bad thing. As far as I'm not saying, oh, that person's ignorant, like they're stupid. No, it's like ignorance, like no, there's ignorance, like, okay, I don't know, but I think
you don't have the knowledge.
I think the great majority is there is a level of knowledge, but we've seen so many people not act on it, and we're like, oh, we just accept it as the norm. For instance, diabetes. I grew up around it my entire life. I have not had a moment in my life, conscious life, where I was not very much aware of
the diabetic state of
diabetics having to take insulin.
Mm-hmm.
People talking about their sugar. My entire life, it's been that way. Mm-hmm. And with, because of my family, my mom, my grandmother, my aunt, my uncle, everybody had diabetes. And it was like, so you get together and it's like, oh, you shouldn't eat that. Oh, please. It's just my sugar. It was so tossed aside that it was just called sugar. It was no longer diabetes. Mm-hmm. It wasn't this killer of people. It was just the sugar.
So that's so funny. It's not funny, but it is funny because I was like, what's diabetes? When I was growing up, when I finally heard the term diabetes, or that she's diabetic or whatever, I was like, what does that mean? I didn't know what that meant until my grandmother one day, she said something about, yeah, something sugar. And I said, oh, you got, you something. And she goes, yeah, my sugar's up. And I said, oh, something diabetes. She goes, that's what that means. I said, Grandma, I didn't know that, because everybody in my family that had it, or we, like you said, it was sugar.
It was sugar, right? And so, and look, I'm not trying to just, this is purposeful, people. And the reason why I'm actually talking about all this is because for so many individuals, they look at, for us, it's sugar or diabetes. For somebody else, it might be hypertension. They've always had in their family. I know.
In my family too.
Well, I have a friend, his entire family. He's never not known anybody in his family to not have, including himself now, cholesterol at an early age, high cholesterol, on pills like Lipitor at a very early age, just because diet wise, being even healthy, running and being an athlete, his cholesterol was through the roof. So it's one of those things where you had to actually always deal with it. It's always something. Well, it can always be something when it comes to our relationships, because we grew up with, you know, the relationship equivalent of sugar, talking bad about somebody, having a woman on the side, having a guy on the side, or
being abusive.
being abusive, whatever. That was just the way it was. That was their version of sugar when it comes to the relationships. And this all came to mind for me because we have to be mindful of our health. And when Snooks and I got sick, it just made me think about a lot of things. It wasn't just Snooks and I, by the way. It was me, Snooks, one of our adult children, our grandson. I mean, everybody was down.
Except for Shanti.
I said all but one.
Oh, sorry.
And we're talking, everybody had temperatures of 103 plus. It was just ridiculous. Anyway.
It was ridiculous. Yeah.
But all of that being said, it was one of those things where, how do we let that get out? And then again, it's a virus. I get that.
Well,
but it really made me think about our health, because like right now, I was talking about, oh, you should, take something for your cough. Oh, I'm fine. It's no big deal. I'm fine. I'm fine. Everybody's saying I'm fine now. No, we're just better. We might be at 85%. But is that okay? Is that good enough? Is that good enough for our relationships as well, to be just at 85%? And we think, oh, okay, well, I'm fine, because I'm looking at somebody over there and they're probably about 50, 60% when it comes to relationships. We have a tendency to think of ourselves, in relation to what we view, what we see. Why not have a vision of what perfect health looks like?
Because for a lot of people, perfect health, perfect relationship, whatever it is, it's so unheard of. It's like that fairy tale, that fable, that no one has that. So why are you trying to get it? And what are you talking about? That doesn't exist. That's on TV. That's,
Be reasonable. And I'm here to tell you guys right now, let's be unreasonable. Let's be unreasonable.
I have no problem being unreasonable.
I know that. So, but I'm challenging myself. I'm challenging you. I'm challenging our listeners, the few that may have come back after the dead silence for a week, to be unreasonable when it comes to your health, your physical health. Something that ails you, go get it checked out. But don't just accept it as, oh, that's just the way it's always been. Let's make it better. Let's make it better. Just the same way you feel when you find, you catch a cold, or you get the flu, or, God forbid, for those of you that experience COVID, and you remember how horrible it felt. But then when all of a sudden it was gone and you felt so much better, that feel like, oh my God, this feels so much better. Is this what feeling good always feels like? And in that moment, you're like, I always want to feel like this. Mm-hmm. And then we forget about it. We accept it as the norm. We take it for granted. And we move on and on and on. And we forget about how bad we felt, and that disparity between the two. We need to actually take a look at it and take, I guess, stock of what our relationship feels like when things are great. Well, how does it feel? Oh, this feels great. We love each other. It's nice. We're sitting on the couch holding hands. That warm, fuzzy feeling. We're communicating. Everything's just nice. Take stock of that, and then recognize that when we get, a few degrees outside of that norm, outside of that good health, that we need to recognize that, I need to do something for the health. Not because it doesn't have to be bad for you to want to actually improve upon it. Mm-hmm. Right. And then I want us to do the exact same thing when it comes to our relationship every single day. 365 days of the year. It's love 365. Valentine's Day just passed. We shouldn't just have to do a relationship checkup once a year. Like, hey, how are we doing? Here's some flowers. Here's some candy. Let's go out to an expensive dinner. How am I doing? That's it. It's a card. It's this, that, and the other. It should be, hey, you know what? Every single day, I want to make sure that we're in perfect health. And if we're not in perfect health, what can we do to get there? And recognize there will be some down days. And it's okay for us to be at 85%, but let's recognize that we're at 85%. Let's not look at 85% health as being perfect health. Like, oh, I feel great. You feel good. Okay, on a scale of, let's put that on a scale to 100%. Is your relationship, is your marriage at 100%? I don't know that any marriage is ever at 100% charming on all things. If it is, that's great, but you have to recognize it's fleeting, it's momentary. What can we do to actually sit there and say, oh, let's keep it at 90 and above?
Well, I'm just gonna say, one thing too. I feel like when you are in those moments where you're holding hands on the couch, or you're feeling fabulous, eating correctly, whatever it is that whatever shift you made to get to that 100%.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times people think, oh well, you can't maintain it. It's something that you can't maintain. It's like, oh, you did good job, we did it for 2 days, or you stayed on it for however long. I just feel like that's a mindset that people have a lot. They're like, well, I knew it couldn't last forever. We're ready to accept that it couldn't last forever. Well, we gave it the old heave ho or whatever it is.
So here's my question: why do we do that?
Why do we do that?
Why do we think, oh, we had this lasted for a couple of days? Yeah.
Well, because I think we talked about it before. What is that? What is it? 85% of our thoughts are negative.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been conditioned to not get our hopes up high. Don't get your hopes up too high. That's a saying that's so very popular. Well, why wouldn't I get my hopes up high? Oh, because you're just gonna fall farther, and nothing's ever chalked up to where they said it is. And so we're so Debbie Downers, or about everything and everyone, even the most, I won't say, I shouldn't say that, the most positive people, those that say, oh well, I'm very optimistic about blah blah blah. Oh, but it's like, oh, okay, we don't want to set ourselves up for failure. We don't want to set ourselves up for heartache, because we're so conditioned to believe that it's going to end in a bad way. It's always going to get worse before it gets better. And we're always focusing on it's going to be worse. It's going to be worse. That's kind of just how I look at it.
And we have to get beyond that. And I'm challenging myself because I know we're all human.
But
right?
it's easy, and I would say it's easy to stay in that type of mindset if that's what you've been doing for X amount of years, for a very long time. Your mind automatically just goes there. So it's like we talked about unlearning things. We have to unlearn how to be okay with just 85%. Because you got 85%, oh, you're doing good. That's a B.
Right.
And B is passing. And that's what we want to, it's like, okay, so maybe I don't want to have a B. I want to treat my relationship like I treat my schoolwork. For myself, I'm like, oh, if I'm not doing A+ work, or if I'm not getting an A+, I'm freaking out. And I'm always like, oh my God, okay, and even in that sense, I've heard, well, you just better turn something in, and so that you pass. A C is passing. All you need to do is pass. But I'm like, but I feel a certain kind of way about the product that I'm putting out, because that's a reflection of myself. So why is it okay for me to feel that way about my schoolwork, which is some papers or whatever, and not feel that way about this that we got going on?
So what I'm hearing from you, and you're right, and it's not just schoolwork. I know people.
Well, I'm just saying for myself, schoolwork.
I know people that the exact same work, they'll run themselves into the ground for their job.
Mm-hmm.
Because my name's attached to it, and this is my reputation, and I just have to and they'll literally kill themselves
mm-hmm.
because they need to make sure that they're performing well at work, but every other area of their lives is underperforming
Mm-hmm.
because that's what they place value in, right? That's what they place their stock
Yeah, exactly.
in. And I guess what I'm hearing described is more of a mindfulness, more of a mindset, and that we, in order to actually excel in those areas, to have better health, to have better, not just physical health, but better spiritual health, better, relational health, to have all these different things requires a level of mindfulness where we just simply have to be unreasonable. We can no longer be reasonable, meaning we can't just say, oh, it's good enough, or, it's okay, it's all right, it's good enough for government work, it's close enough. Well, there's nothing wrong with 85%. And there isn't in some instances. But I think that where we have an opportunity to become more mindful when it comes to our marriages is to call it what it is. If it's at 85%, let's say, you know what, I'm about 85%, and do I want to get better? But having a conversation with my spouse about, I feel like our marriage is at 85%. And then, oh, how do you feel about it? Oh, I think it's at like 90%, or I think it's at 95%. Okay, well, now we need to have a conversation about why there's a disparity.
What's the 10%?
Yeah, where's that 2% difference, and why? But that's where the beauty is in. Hey, it's not to drag one down. It's about lifting both boats up. Like let's figure it out. Okay, are you okay with that? Is it and if you are, it's like, okay, well, maybe this is just my personality, who I am, where I'm at. This is how I view a lot of different things. But it's a conversation. And I think even in having that conversation, it raises it from 85% now to 87% because you're having this level of transparency between the two of you.
I mean, hopefully it raises it, because it could also it can raise the level up to 87, or it can raise the red flags or whatever. Because what you mean you only feel 85%? Well, I mean, you know what I'm saying? It can do that. It can be that. So we need to make sure that when having the conversations, we have to be able to have a safe space to talk.
You talk about that a lot.
To talk. You said what?
So no, you said you're good. You talk about that a lot.
Oh, I mean, it's very important, because if I want to be able to be fully transparent in my relationship, and I can't do that if I don't feel safe enough to do it. And I don't mean safe from physical violence. I mean, obviously that, but if I don't feel like you're going to listen to what I'm saying, you're going to berate me for it, or, here you go again, blah, blah, blah. That's going to turn, those words are going to turn on me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then I'm going to get in my feelings, and I'll remember, oh, well, last time I brought this up, this is what he did, or this is how she reacted, or so it's not okay for me to say blah, blah, blah. So then we go around being fake. You can't be real, and then you wonder why you're disconnected. If I can't be real and transparent, where's the connectivity? It's not a real connection. So at any moment, something goes haywire, that's it, we're done.
No, you're right. And so, my directive to be unreasonable has to be grounded, has to be founded in being able to be transparent and safe with each other as well. So let's talk about this. Look, let's give 3 tips when it comes to specifically being unreasonable when it comes to your health. Meaning when it's unreasonable when it comes to your physical, your mental, your spiritual, your relational, all of this, so that way you can have a better marriage, you can have a better life, you can have a better chance at actually growing and evolving in this thing we call life. The very first thing is going to have to be about developing your trust. So we had mentioned the Gottman Institute, right? And some of the training that we've received. They have a thing called the Sound Relationship House. And so for us to be able to have true health, best health possible, we're going to need to actually ensure that 2 pillars that are crucial to standing up this house have to be intact. and it has to be consistently worked on a daily basis. Deposits made into these two weight-bearing walls.
Mm-hmm.
One being trust. Do you remember what the other one is?
Commitment.
Yep. Trust and commitment.
Do I remember?
It's a little quiz right there, girl. I'm just like, hey, you with me on this? No, but it's the truth. So it's about trust and commitment. I'm talking about health, but your health is predicated on, your marital health is going to be predicated upon these two weight-bearing walls of what we call a sound relationship house, and that is one wall being trust, the other wall being commitment. That trust is exactly what Snooks was talking about, being able to be yourself and be comfortable in being yourself. Is because you've developed this trust between each other that it's a safe place. Mm-hmm. But then there also has to be that commitment to each other, and that no matter what, when I share with you that it's here, that you are going to have this safe place. Mm-hmm. And that we're committed to each other, and like whatever the challenge may be, we're going to continue to move forward. If you can have those two weight-bearing walls established, then the health of your home is moving forward. Your health of your home is actually getting into a place to where you can withstand, any big bad wolf that comes up to blow on that house.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And so I'm not going to belabor the point, but I do want you to know that while we were sick and all these things were going on, we're in bed and fighting fevers and, and all the purging, from our body.
I love you was purging.
we each lost like 6 pounds this week.
Yeah.
From this. And what I want to do is really impart that your health is important. Not just your physical health, and making sure that you're not getting knocked down by a flu or COVID or anything else, but also that your marital health is equally important. Mm-hmm. And we need to do whatever it takes. Get that checkup. There's a relationship audit that's on our website. It's go to marital.crazy.com, and if you scroll down, you'll see that there's an opportunity to do a relationship audit. And it's one thing that you can do and really find out, where are we at? Do we need improvement? Do I need, are we in a good place? Are we good? Or are we in a phenomenal space? There's a process that you go through to really have a conversation and talk about it. It'll help you tremendously towards having the health that you want. Getting, so you can walk around with your chest out and your head high and your shoulders back and know that, hey, my relationship is good. Or it needs improvement, but we're working on it together. Mm-hmm. There's a level of health in knowing that, well, it may not be perfect, but we're working on it.
I was about to say that, it's a work in progress,
Absolutely. Just because you see people in the gym, all the people that you see in that gym all year round working out, they're not there because they're in perfect health. They're there because they are a work in progress. Regardless of how good they look to you or how, in relation to where you are in your journey, how they might look, they are a work in progress for themselves. Each and every one of us are that. And our relationships are no different. Mm-hmm. So I hope this made some sense, and I hope it added value for you guys. She's looking at me like, well, as soon as we stop this, she's going to have all kinds of questions for me. What are we? Are we at 85? What are you? You said it 7 times. I want to know what that meant.
Oh, because he's stuck on 85.
Stuck on 85 now. No, but we appreciate each and every one of you. We hope you're finding value for it. And again, we look forward to being back behind the mics. We are in the process of setting up. We're in the process of setting up a variety of interviews to bring you more couples throughout this new year, to help you get to that next level, whatever that may be, in your work in progress.
And just, I know we're getting ready to go into March, but just really think about, what is it that you want to achieve in your marriage? What's important? What's the most important thing? For some people, it's like, look, just staying together so we can just, every day put one foot in front of the other. But really take inventory and say, what is it that I want out of my marriage? We say that about everything else. What is it that you're looking for when you get a new job? Tell me what it is that you're looking for, blah, 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 whatever. You should do the same thing with your marriage. What is it that you want to see happen? What do you want to achieve together? So
Absolutely. And if you ever feel like you want to, hey, I want to know what they think about this, or why aren't they talking about this particular topic? Feel free to email us at coaching@marriedintocrazy.com. We would love to hear from you. A lot of our older podcasts were driven a lot by our listeners and, questions that they were offering
Asking
up.
questions.
Yeah, it was always a great added benefit to our listenership because they were actually hearing things from other people out there in listener land as well. So we invite you to continue to doing that. And like we always say, until the next time,
Be blessed.
bye.
Bye bye.